Howdy folks, Spencer here, and a short time ago the developers announced the 2025 Winter Event ship for Star Trek Online, along with some new additions to the Winter Event store for both Space and Ground. In this video I'll be breaking everything down. As always, chapters to everything are listed down below. And to start things off, let's get some of the basics out of the way. The Winter Event is going to be starting up on December 9th for both PC and console, so next Tuesday. And the grand prize this year is the FEK'IHRI Vok'tar temporal science vessel. This is a tier 6 ship that you can earn entirely for free by going in and participating in any of the eligible events on the winter map for 20 out of the 30 days of the event. Some of these options, like the fastest game on ice, can be done in under 2 minutes each day once you're used to it, and I do have some footage of me running that last year, which I'll have linked down below for those interested. And alternatively, if you're not able to participate for 20 of those days, or if you're just not wanting to do the event, there is going to be a Lobi buyout available. That's going to start at 1,000 Lobi crystals and will decrease by 50 Lobi per day of participation in the event. And before I dive into the ship, I know most of you just care about the ship, but I do recommend you stick around afterwards for some of the discussion on the new space and ground items that they're putting into the Winter Event store. The new personal space trait especially is going to be a meta must-slot trait on most builds moving forward. And heading into the stats of the FEK'IHRI Vok'tar, this is a science vessel that has a 3-3 weapon setup. It has all of your standard science features like a secondary deflector, subsystem targeting, and sensor analysis. For the consoles, 3 TAC, 3 ING, and 5 Psi. And for the bridge officers, you have a Commander Science with Temporal Operative, a Lieutenant Commander Universal, Lieutenant Commander Science, Lieutenant TAC with Intel, and an Ensign Engineer. This happens to be a very strong configuration for a science-heavy setup. With those types of builds, you generally want to have as little forced and non-psi seating as possible. The Ensign Engineer is easy to work around. That could be immersion-powered engines or auxiliary. And for the Lieutenant TAC, that happens to also be where the Intel is. So you can do Override Subsystem Safeties 1 in the first slot to give your exotic abilities a little bit more juice by buffing up your aux power. And then in the other slot, you could do something like Ionic Turbulence for the little bit of debuff that has, and also for it being an unconventional systems proc. But the big thing to take away from the stats of the FEK'IHRI Vok'tar is how it stacks up against the Vern Temporal Science Vessel. For a long time, that was the best science ship in STO. That changed post-2024 with the introduction of the Type 7 pets, in which we saw the science carriers take the lead and become the best option for most players. But still, the Vern has been a very powerful platform over the years. It still is really good for a pure science setup. And basically, the FEK'IHRI Vok'tar here can do everything that the Vern could do, but it can do it better because you're dropping that secondary temporal seat to pick up an Intel, and that Temp-Intel combo is better than dual temporal. So yeah, the ship itself is one of the best science ships in the game. You know, sure, it doesn't have hangar pets like the Arc Rail or the Terran Monitor, but still, you can put together a build on this that is going to be crazy effective. And the fact that you're getting a free event ship that is matching one of the best science platforms out there, like, that is really impressive. And as for kit bashing, this ship does have the ability to use the other FEK'IHRI skins, and I believe that would also change the color of the fire effect that we saw. And if you want that FEK'IHRI Type 4 color scheme on your other ships, there is a new Vandy Shield that will be available in the Winter Event store, the FEK'IHRI Soulfire Vandy Shield. You're not getting the green fire effect, of course, but you are getting that visual that you can put on any ship, so you can see some pictures of it here on the Warden, courtesy of Bordicus over in the Discord. Now, heading over to the accessories from the Winter Event ship here, the first is going to be the Universal Console, Eye of Grethor. Passives on this are 34.2% fire and psionic damage, Cat 1, and plus 10% cooldown reduction on Universal Console abilities, so that is a console that you're going to see used on quite a few ships just based on the passives alone. But the thing that is going to really draw people into wanting to use this is the visuals. It's a green style gravity well there that is going to pull foes in towards it. The pull is not working in the demonstration. It'll do a small amount of damage, but it is a very strong pull for any ships within 5 kilometers. And again, the passives on that are pretty strong. You know, if you're doing a fire setup, that's going to be very beneficial for you. And if you're doing a setup using a bunch of universal consoles, you know, more cooldown reduction for all your console clickies is always great to see. And as you can see in the background there is some faces in that black hole that appear, and that effect is also seen around some of the ships that are impacted, so really cool set of effects here for this accessory. And then the starship trait is Hypnotic Mind Wave. Once every 15 seconds, when you activate a universal console, it will confuse enemies in a 5 kilometer radius for 6.3 seconds, and then you do additional damage, 20% Cat 1, versus confused and placated foes. So with it just saying all damage, that should just be Cat 1. That's not really that much for a trait. The confuse, you know, if you're spec'd into control, you can probably get that duration up a bit, but this is a trait that I could see people using at a budget level. But if you're an established player with many of the stronger traits, this is probably not something you're going to bother with. Now, shifting over to the new additions for the Winter Event store, these items are purchasable with the holiday currencies shown on screen. You can buy those currencies off other players on the exchange. You can also get them from duty officer missions that appear on the winter map or social maps like Earth Space Dock, and you can of course earn them by doing the events on the winter map. For the space side, I already mentioned the Vanity Shield, but the big thing here is the personal space trait Twinkling Lights. This trait is meant to buff up rainbow builds that use different weapon flavors at the same time. It only works with the 6 primary energy damage types, so Phaser, Disruptor, Plasma, Polaron, Tetryon, and Anti-Proton. As is, this trait will likely be slotted onto every build that uses energy weapons. Even if you're just doing a single damage type like Phaser, that minus 20 debuff against anything you shoot is a pretty big deal. And if you were actually going and run a rainbow setup, you could get up to 120 debuff from this, which only you can benefit from, so you can't go in and do that on a support to buff up your teammates, unfortunately. And like the Type 7 pets off of the Awani, this amount of debuff, you know, that's a force multiplier that's going to help boost your damage up. So definitely a trait that, you know, based on its current values, I think everyone should go out and pick up. Like minus 20 debuff per stack, like that is just crazy good. And sadly, I don't have pricing info, but to me, you know, regardless of what this costs, this is the most impactful thing that they showed off meta-wise on that stream, so definitely make sure to pick this up. And I know many of you have been wondering what this means for rainbow setups, or Skittles as some say, and the truth is that rainbow setups have been competitive and capable of doing very well for years now. There's a lot of really old info out there for the game, in which myself and many others had advised people to stick to just one damage type, but between isomags and consoles with the beam and cannon modifiers, those setups have come a long way, and in the past couple of years, I mean, they've been perfectly viable to go in and use. You know, at most, you're talking about, you know, maybe a fraction of a percent difference between like a rainbow setup and, you know, like a fully phaser focused setup. It really isn't that big of a deal. So what this trade is going to do is encourage people to go out there, try the rainbow setups, and see that they are actually viable. So yeah, if you want to try a rainbow setup out, go for it. Now, for the ground stuff, I'm going to go through this a bit faster. The ground trait here we don't have a very clear picture of, but this is going to be elemental based like some of the summer event stuff. So per any elemental kit module, plus 5 kit performance and kit readiness. Per fire kit module, you're going to get some crit severity. Per water kit module, it's going to be health regen. Per earth kit module, some damage resistance. And per any kit module equipped, you're getting a run speed buff. And then when you have one of each elemental kit modules equipped, plus 12.5% Cat 1 all damage, plus 12.5% max hit points, plus 25 kit performance and kit readiness. And for the costumes, there are some new winter sweaters, so you can see a Klingon focused one there. I believe there was a Murph one that they show here. And then there's a Moopsy hoodie. Now the Moopsy hoodie does have a headpiece that goes with it, and I'm going to skip ahead to show you that. So that's a really neat combo if that is something you're interested in. Nice Moopsy theme there. And then there are some pets. If I recall, some of these were just added into the Lobby store not too long ago, but I think these are separate winter-themed ones. So we saw these in Discovery, and there's a neat effect on that one where it's got like the galaxy behind it. I think they said that was like a part of the V'ger skin that they had just transferred over to it, which is, I mean, pretty cool. So yeah, if you're into the ground pets, I mean, there's Rudolph for you, so there's going to be a few of you for sure enjoying those. They look cool, especially that galaxy one that I saw there. Yeah, right there. That looks really cool. And for those of you that like to do a lot of things over on the winter map, there is a CasualSAB transformation that's also been added in. And you can see it in action here. So it turns you into a giant CasualSAB there, and you can throw coal at the snowmen. You can like capture them in that bag, stuff like that. So I'm going to skip ahead here. You can see the coal being thrown. And I believe it's going to show the like bag attack here in a moment. Any second. Yeah, here, there it is. It was throwing the bag around the snowman or right next to it. So that's neat. I know those of you that like to do a lot of stuff on the winter map will probably have some fun with that, but probably not like a must-have item for that map. And shifting over to the ground kit modules, the first is It Eats You Alive. This will target your foe and will light them and any other foes in between you and them on fire for a couple of seconds. And you can see that in action here if I skip ahead. So really, really cool effect there. Here it is close up. You can see that they're on fire. And the other kit module is Banished to Grethor. This is going to push back and hold up to 5 targets in a 15-meter radius. It will then deal some fire damage to them, and after the pushback ends, they suffer an outgoing damage penalty of 33.3%, so they're doing slightly less damage to you and your allies. And here is this visual in action. This is slowed down to a quarter speed. So really cool effect there. You can see it like sending their souls to Grethor, like disintegrating them. That's really cool. And then there is the ground weapon, which with the FEK'IHRI theme, as you can imagine, it is going to light the enemies on fire. So here's the primary. Really cool effect there. Now, the damage numbers do look low, but keep in mind when they're showing this stuff off, it's on a brand new blank account, basically. The secondary, look at that. Isn't that like Flora's Lava? Is what that reminds me of, like a portable Flora's Lava. Really cool. And even the tertiary mode on this, when you do the melee, I believe they were saying that will also light foes on fire, so this looks like a fun ground weapon, and you know, it's clearly one that's not limited to the winter map, so something you can actually use in normal gameplay, which is really great to see. And to wrap things up, the 2025 winter event update looks to be quite promising. We have lots of great ground and space items being added in here. The event ship is one of the better sized ships in the game, and the console from it has great passives and a great green visual effect, as you can see over at the right. And on top of that, the new winter personal space trait is going to shake up the meta and bring rainbow setups into the spotlight. Overall, it's just a really exciting set of additions, and there's more to come as we still have a lockbox ship releasing at the same time next week that we know nothing about right now. So make sure to stay tuned, because when all this stuff drops next week, I will be testing it all out live. But that is going to be it for today. So as always, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. See you all around.